So you're running practice deals, you're looking at properties, and now the next step is honing in on that rehab budget. Don't fall into these two major pitfalls that both new and seasoned investors make.
Renovations, properties, over-renovating properties, under-renovating properties.
Make money.
Making money. We're talking about all that and more today with Brooke Lawrence. Hi, welcome.
I am guest.
You are guest.
Brooke Lawrence is the owner of She Stages Columbus, I would say one of the top staging companies here in Columbus. And we thought she's walking houses all day, every day. She's going to be a really good resource for us to kind of figure out. I don't think we're designers. Weird.
No.
We give out loans.
We math things.
But we're definitely not the
Not
person
designers.
that's kind of putting some of the lipstick on pigs or making things beautiful. That is not.
Definitely see the good, bad, ugly. So I'll be able to give you guys some feedback on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people think, I think you get two kinds of investors out there. You get people that say, okay, I'm going to buy this house and I'm going to renovate it, and renovating it is fixing a hole in the wall, and that's about it. And then they throw it up on the market. And then you get others that are doing just
Top of the line.
way too much.
Yeah.
Way too much. They're really over-improving it for the area.
A lot of times that's like a first-time investor who it's their first time and they're putting all their heart and emotion into it. And I think that you lose that passion real quick, I think, for the...
And I think logic comes into play. Is like there's kind of a couple factors of this. What is enough renovation to allow me to keep this as a rental? And then or what's going to allow me to flip this property and make the profit that I need? So on the lending side, again, we'll take care of the numbers for you. On the lending side, if you want to keep it as a rental, if you're trying to speed up that seasoning period, so the amount of time that you have to own the property before you can go off of the after repaired value, some work has to be done. And I don't know that we want to like pen to paper say exactly what those things are, but if an appraiser was to find the listing of this property and he compares and contrasts the photos of our new, ready to go property, and there's no changes, he's going to be like, wait a second, nothing was done.
Yeah.
There was no improvement to value. Let's talk about this. And honestly, even our lenders are going to ask for a scope of work. What was done? Mm-hmm. And I would say yes, if it's basic. Paint, flooring, carpet, if those are, paint, flooring, there should be something else. I'm just going to ramble
bathroom.
Here. Well, anything. I would say like
There's all
the
kinds of stuff.
turnover for a rental. If you've done those kind of things, that's probably sufficient.
Yeah.
Anything above and beyond that hits all the marks.
Mm-hmm.
But then it gets into the weeds of what are the renovations that we should consider to ensure that you are getting those top dollars. And I think, Brooke, one thing that we brought up was, improving based on the area. So what is in your market and what is correlating, and how are those renovations changing from the listing that you're potentially going to be putting up?
Yeah, I think it's just like learning the scope of the neighborhood that you're in. If you're in a higher end suburban neighborhood, you're going to match, look at other listings around and kind of like newer listings, maybe other ones that have been flipped, and make sure yours looks comparable to theirs. Look at the flooring choices they made. Look at the finishes. Look at the colors. You definitely want to match what's in the area. And you're not going to want to put 99 cent a square foot flooring in a higher end house. Now, on the adverse side, if you're in a lower income neighborhood and you're flipping to hold for a rental, something like that, definitely you want to scale those choices down a little bit. And again, do the same thing though. Look at the other rentals in the area, look at any other listing in that area, and definitely match what you're seeing there as well.
Can I give what I think is like one of the mortal sins of rehabbing, and that is taking a beautiful old historic home that maybe you got for, maybe it was run down, but maybe you got it for $300,000 or $400,000, and you're trying to ARV it for $1 million because it sits on the park and it's beautiful and there's maybe some history to it, and you look at one of these listings after one of these things is done and it's all rehab gray. It's like, millennial gray. It's the worst. Oh, it's the worst. And you know who you are who do that.
But sometimes people really like it. There's a lot of us
I'm
out
sorry
there
that they're wrong, Brooke.
I know.
I'm sorry that they're wrong.
Well, and you've started to see a change in color scheme as well, haven't you?
Absolutely, yeah. People are getting out of the gray. At the end of the day, lots of people are getting out of the gray. I would say more so in flips to sell, people are getting out of the gray. I think a lot of times with the rentals, maybe people are still kind of going with that really cheap, quick, standard product. But I definitely see more like beiges and creams and lighter natural woods are kind of coming back in, and not so much all the harsh blacks and grays and things.
I saw like a deep blue in the cabinetry with like gold and
That's super popular still.
is that still going?
Mhm. That blues and greens and like the sagey greens are really popular right now too.
like
Is
a
there
sage
any
green.
nervousness of giving those pops of color when you don't know who your buyer's going to be?
That's a good question. There's a level of guts that it takes to do it. And I think that's where it's really important to research the houses in the area, understand the clientele, like, or the buyers that are coming into that area. If they're younger, if it's a younger neighborhood, like they're going to be more willing to see that, I think, than, somewhere.
Take some smaller chances.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, because I know that what you've ran into a ton is like making it relatable for as many buyers as possible. So if you go with these larger or more bold moves, just know that you may be narrowing down your buyers, where if you went with something a little bit more neutral or not as bold, it could open up that buyer pool. So it's just being really mindful. So
But it could also give you a competitive edge. It's such a double-edged sword because I think, there's some people that are like, oh, I want that one because they did that. So
Yeah.
it's-
I have a rental that I put some really like neat fixtures in, and I think that really helps sell it. Like the light fixtures have like they almost like kind of snake around, and not a traditional light fixture. And the renters that ended up renting it, were young people that got a kick out of it, and I think that really helped with the marketing on it.
Yeah, and I would say with like rental properties, going with like a black metal or like that satin nickel, the easily replaceable items is kind of the smarter edge to go. But when you're doing like a flip to sell, it's okay to put more specialized product in there because you're not replacing it every year with a new lease. So.
Yep.
and so you don't like gray. I'm going for stop with the boob lights. No
Boob
boob
lights?
lights. We're done with them. They need to go to heaven. Like, you spend such a teeny tiny bit more to get a just flat surface, clean, modern light fixture. You know
The
what those
dome
With the little knob
with the
in?
little knob
Yep.
in
Boob
the middle.
lights?
Boob lights.
not
Yeah.
needed. Upgrade.
Boob
I'm
lights
a big
suck.
fan of like Amazon lighting, to be
Yeah.
honest. There's great prices. There's tons of options. They have these little I don't know, they're like 1.5 inches deep. And they usually come with like 3 different colored like LED bulbs in them on a remote.
That's
And
nice.
you can change your lighting out. And they're like, I don't know, for like a random or a normal size round disc light, $30-$40. Pretty
Yeah.
good price.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. So if we're going through maybe like 3 parts of the property, what are the 3 top things if you're going full gut? So we're touching everything naturally. What are the things that you would potentially spend the most money on? What are categories of the house?
I think something we should hit later in this is when to determine if it's a full gut or a cosmetic flip. Let's label that and talk about that later. But the 3 most important things that
Locations.
re-ask that question. I'm sorry.
What are 3 aspects of a rehab budget that you would spend the most money in?
Yeah.
I would say depending on where you're flipping the house, like the flooring could be the most expensive if you're in a higher end home. Flooring is more expensive. And paint, depending on if you're hiring the paint out, if you're doing paint yourself, and then the quality of paint you put into it. If it's a rental, you may not go with a high quality paint because you're painting every year. If it's a flip, go ahead and put something that lasts in there. Do the buyer their justice. I think that, kitchens and bathrooms, those can be extremely expensive, but they absolutely change the home. And you can add so much value to the home by simple upgrades in the bathroom.
Well, and that's how you do your staging packages, is based on the 3 areas where people connect, right?
Yeah, people make 3 emotional connections when they walk home. It's where do I eat, where do I sleep, where do I watch TV? So I think those 3, that's your living room, those are your bedrooms, that's your kitchen. After COVID, it was where do I work? Because so many people went to working from home. So making sure when you're maybe making your floor plans that you are thinking about an office and where that could go. If you have a random extra bedroom on the first floor, not that you guys need to do anything as investors, but maybe your stager would want to make that an office. You just kind of want to show that 4th place.
What do you think of renovations that don't add much to the value of the home? Like, are there any things out there that you can think of?
Are we talking like roofs?
like roofs.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, roofs are pricey to say the least. I mean, you're going to be, I don't know, in the 8 to 20 grand range to probably put on a roof, depending on the structure of the property. I'm not a contractor. All the little points and things and such. But is that going to directly correlate to $20,000 in value? No. No, not likely. Now, do you have a leaky roof and you don't have a choice in the matter?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to fix that. That's not going to go through an appraisal smoothly for us. It's going to run into issues. Or on the selling side, that buyer who purchases the property, they're going to nitpick the hell out of that on an inspection. They're going to potentially ask for seller credits to get that covered. So you might as well avoid that problem from the jump. Now, if it's a older roof or a middle-aged roof, don't worry about it. Like, let it sit there. It's not going to improve the value enough to justify it. HVAC, again, if it's middle-aged and it's functioning and it's workable, like, it may not be something you want to spend a bunch of money on because it's not going to directly correlate. Ooh, Brooke, what about outside of the house? What about like landscaping?
I was just
because Adam is currently
we
doing
are psychically linked and also in the middle of doing that.
So landscaping is huge, but also exterior paint. I mean, paint can just absolutely transform a space. So I've said it already several times in this, but look at the listings around, look at the houses around, make sure you're within the color schemes.
Yeah.
And check check and see if it's in an area where certain colors aren't allowed. I think, but going with a more trendier color, like the dark slate gray houses are in, black houses are in, clean white houses are in, greens are awesome. I think that first check if you can paint your house.
Mm-hmm.
2, make sure it's a super trendy, great color.
Yeah.
But paint the house. Now 2, landscaping.
So I'm going to pause you. So I actually just had a refi where the appraisal just came in a little bit short.
Yeah.
And the first thing my owner said was, I wish I just would have spent the money to do the exterior paint because I think it would have looked like I improved it.
Yeah.
Literally, her exact verbiage.
Yeah.
And she thought about doing a second appraisal to then get potentially that value that she was hoping for. But she said the whole decision, that the reason she believed the appraiser didn't improve her value was because of exterior paint.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Back to
Goes a
landscaping.
long way.
Landscaping.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, curb appeal. Any agent's going to tell you that is a very important step in the listing process. It's kind of like that icing on the cake, just like staging, honestly. Those are just an additional thing that you can do to make that listing look more. It's to stop the scroll.
Yep.
So, usually that first picture on a listing is the front of the house.
Yep.
You want that front of the house photo to really pop and stop the scroll.
Yep.
And mulch goes a long way. As silly as that is, just fresh mulch and clean flower beds is enough.
Yeah.
So
I tried to sell a house a couple years ago, and the yard was really rough, and that was the number one feedback we got.
Yeah, I remember you saying
was
that.
like, oh, well, yeah, the house is great, but the yard is, and I'm like,
Seriously?
you could put like 5-10 grand in a yard and like make it amazing, and so
yeah.
whatever, I ended up moving into the house, and now I'm doing that to the yard anyway. Sweet.
Look at you.
And if you're managing the house from far away, if you're an out-of-state investor, just make sure it's mowed. I can't tell you how many times that the grass isn't mowed in the listing, and I don't know what agent would allow for the grass to look like that anyway.
Yeah.
But
And that's huge. I mean, we work with a ton of out-of-state investors. It's still your property. Be mindful. Check on photos. Ask for photos. Be involved in the process because it will play into the dollars and cents that you have in profit at the end of the day. So can't say that enough. But yeah, I mean, Brooke, thank you so much for coming on, kind of getting into the weeds with us of the renovations that are necessary. If you need a stage, please contact She Stages Columbus. I have to put the little shameless play in. But, staging is huge. It's definitely going to improve that listing price that you put up there, etc. But pleasure having you. Let's get at it.